Hello, party people. My name's Adam Lane. You're listening to another episode of Oak Performance Radio. Guys, this is a special episode of me presenting at Northern Illinois University to their kinesiology class on leading indicators. I hope you enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Oak Performance Radio. I'm your host, Adam Lane. If you're new to the show, our goal here is to create some content, some fantastic content for athletes, parents, and coaches. We tell stories, have laughs, and go into everything that is the end game of athletic performance, helping athletes achieve their optimal performance and be the best they can possibly be. Enjoy the show.
Talking to, raise your hand if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Raise your hand if you want to go into PT, AT, strength and conditioning, sports management, YouTube star. Hey, are there other options? Did I miss anything? OT, thank you. Any OT? Okay, I went really fast there. Let me rewind. PT, AT, strength and conditioning. God bless you people. OT. Okay, a little bit of everything. Fantastic. Raise your hand if you're completely convinced that you know what you're doing. Raise your hand if you are foggy. Raise your hand if you like taking polls by raising your hand. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Okay, guys, I'm just going to throw things at you and let chips fall where they may. I got my master's from NIU back in 2005 in curriculum instruction because I taught 7th grade math for 15 years and did a lot of coaching, track and field, cross country, and basketball. And just love coaching more than I did teaching. And so that's where I kind of turned here. We started the gym, Oak Strength, back in 2012. And then split it a couple years later just because it was confusing because we had general adults that we were training, which were fine, but we don't train our athletes the way we do your mom. They're different athletes, they're different people, we can't train them the same. So anyway, we've been running for going on 13 years now. I'm going to just throw this at you just because I love this. I don't know if you know Don Meyer, you don't know Don Meyer, but you should. When you're done here, okay, YouTube, Don Meyer, SP. Don won the was a 2009 Jimmy Valvano Award. Raise your hand if you're familiar with the ESPYs. Do we know the ESPYs? Raise your hand if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, again, I just like hand raising. It makes me feel powerful. Don won the Jimmy V Award. Just fantastic story. It's a 12-minute YouTube video. It's the best. You'll cry. If you don't cry, you have no soul. It's a fantastic, amazing guy. He won 923 career wins between Lipscomb University and the Northern State. Just phenomenal man. Here's his line. These are not my words. His line, and it's not exactly a quote. He just said them, okay? So it's not like he spent time like creating, cultivating these words. A coach will have hundreds of athletes during a career, but an athlete only gets one career. So I don't care what you go into. I don't care PT, AT, strength conditioning, blah, 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 whatever. Whatever you go into, if you have to understand that the people in front of you, they have a career, okay? So when you blow a knee, you only have one right knee, okay? And it's their knee, it's not your knee. And if you're a PT and you go through the day and you see 20 people, it's easy to start kind of, just do this and then do this and do a couple of these and then some of those. Okay, good job. And not care and just kind of turn into like this, like churn and burn type deal. We see this in strength conditioning, okay? Do some squats. Form's close enough, blah, 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 blah. And then they hurt their back. And then you're like, shucks, bummer, okay? Everybody, guys, you have one career. You have one career, okay? I blew out my wrist in jiu-jitsu 5 years ago. Had to get my scaphoid lunate reconstructed. There's extension right now, okay? You know how hard it is to shoot a basketball like this? Not good, not good. Jiu-jitsu, trying to post right now, brutal, okay? It is what it is, but I only have one right wrist, okay? So that doctor, when they're doing surgery, I want them to put all the care that they possibly can into what's going on. I just care that you care. That's it. I don't care what you go into. I'm just saying insane words, okay? Back in the day, back in 2017, I went to a symposium, okay, called Power Athlete, okay? I met a guy by the name of Jim Steele. Jim was the head strength conditioning guy at Penn University for like 16, 17, 18 years. I really liked Jim. I read a bunch of his blogs. We had things called blogs back in the day where you would type your own thoughts, not through AI, but like own original thoughts. So much good stuff. So much good stuff. And his name's Jim Steele. If your name is Jim Steele, you go into strength and conditioning because your last name is Steele, and that's what you should do. Okay. Jim had done it for a long time, and he was using some force plate stuff. Okay. And he kept mentioning this thing called Sparta science. And I nodded politely, like I knew what he was talking about. And then finally, after like 5 times of him saying it, I'm like, Jim, I have no idea what the Sparta science thing is. What are you talking about? And he's like, Adam, I'm not sure how it works. I just do what the plate says. I do what the data says, and my kids don't get hurt. He was coaching volleyball at the time and football at the time. It was funny, 2 kind of opposite end sports, but still like very power-y sports. And then he said, begrudgingly, our soccer strength conditioning coach chooses not to use these force plates, and she had 3 ACLs last year. Not her herself, she only has 2 knees, but their teams had 3 ACLs. That joke usually kills. 3 ACLs. So I really like that because in the sense of like, this guy's been in the field for that long and he's open-minded. And again, for whatever it's worth, the best PTs I found, the best ATs I found are guys who have been in it for a long time, but they're like learning new crap. They're still not doing the same stuff that they learned back in 1989. They've expanded their knowledge on what's going on. They integrate different methods into whatever it is that they happen to be doing. They turn into these lifelong learners. Sorry, I'm old and very reflective. We partnered with a volleyball club back in 2018, or actually 2017. And one of the reasons I tell you this is because we do this on large numbers of kids. This isn't just a small study of, hey, we do this on 10 kids and this is what happened. We do this, we run about 400 athletes a year between the volleyball club and then the regular athletes that we end up coaching. So we ended up partnering with this force plate group that was Sparta Science that's now Hawken Dynamics, okay? And we scan athletes. Like that's how we know, okay? There are 1,000 different strength conditioning programs out there, okay? There are strength conditioning programs that only love like single leg work. And they're like, oh, we're gonna do all the rear foot elevated split squats in the world. They're the most amazing. Oh, why would you ever back squat? When are you gonna back squat on the football field? Everything's sports on one foot. Have you heard this? These are the podcasts I listen to, okay? And that's fine. That's fine. But then you have other people who be like, I want more, neurological loading. So we are gonna do the heavy back squat. We are gonna do the heavy, whatever, trap bar, straight bar, deadlift, and we're gonna hammer that way. Why would you ever bench press? You're never gonna be laying on your back trying to press somebody off you. Like, why would you do such a thing? I don't know, unless you're jiu-jitsu is kind of the only one I'm coming up with. So there's a lot of people that disagree on different things. And so I find that to be interesting. We started scanning people. Paige went to Loyola. Emma went to Dartmouth. You can't see this here. That's Fred Van Fleet. Fred used to train with us. Basketball, Houston Rockets. Anybody know Fred? Rockford guy, super good dude. Super good dude. He used to come back here more when he was in Toronto, and now he's in Houston, and there's no need to come back. We see him a little bit, but he's a good guy. I can't say enough good things about Fred. Anyway, but I don't care who you are, we're going to get data on you. So just, again, a little proof in the pudding type thing. I'm just telling you things, again, because we do large number of athletes, okay? About 400 athletes a year. The last 4 years, we've been in the top 1 or 2 in recruiting classes for specifically this volleyball club. We train baseball, we train football, we train soccer, we train softball, track and field. We send kids to college in all different sports. It's just a lot of volleyball. Okay. Guys, if I can get our technology to work here, we have a little Wi-Fi issue going on right now. We'll see if we can fix it. Technology, it's always the thing. Here's zero force, you just standing on the plate. When you start to create force, okay, you kind of unweight, and then you start to break, you put force into the ground, and then you get something that looks like that. Okay. What Sparta Science originally found, and then we've taken that and put it into Hawking, is that a counter movement jump, I don't care if it's like, hey, I'm just using my arms or hands on hips or whatever it is. If you jump, that expression of force through the lower half tells us a lot about you. It correlates to how you run, how you jump, how you cut, okay? Basically anything you might do athletically. Swimming, a little bit different. I don't know what to do there, okay? It's a little bit different. I don't know if, off the blocks, off the wall, okay? But while you're in the middle, it's gonna be different, okay? Here's what we know. Here's what we found out. This is what I think is cool. Everybody scans out a little bit differently. Everybody's got their own little unique signature, okay? So I'll scan out, and Megan can scan out, and we won't be the same, because we're different. I'm 45 years old, she's 20. She's played a ton of volleyball. I've done all sports at a very mediocre level. Okay, we're not gonna be the same. Okay, even within a football field, okay? Offensive lineman is very different than a defensive back. Okay, a softball center fielder is going to be very different than a softball catcher. Okay, even though they're on the softball team, we're just giving them the softball program. Here's the softball training that you do on your softball team. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what you do. Okay, here's our football program, lifting program. Okay, in my mind, I don't know why the offensive lineman would be doing the same thing as the defensive backs. It's, just me. I'm not trying to create upheaval. Okay, it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, volleyball the same. I don't know why your volleyball middle would be doing the same thing as your libero. They couldn't be doing more different things on the court. Middle's running around like their head's cut off. The libero's just sitting in the back passing. I should not just passing, that's not all they do. Okay. Here's what we find. I'm just come back to this. Woo! Everybody creates force in different manners. If you look at the light blue line, okay, we categorize these in 3 different ways. Okay, if we have a low load athlete, if you look at, they're coming up there, that line's going up, but then it drops a little bit. That means when they go to really create force, they don't create much force. They try to, because that blue line right there should continue up, but it doesn't. They're weak. Typically, it's anteriorly. Typically. Not always, you can be weak in other ways. Okay, but they just don't create a lot of force. We see that low load piece in lesser trained athletes, in our freshman, sophomore, high school kids who haven't found the weight room. Okay, which is fine. We might have a low explode athlete. So we call this an early peak bimodal. Okay, so it peaks early. This is somebody that creates a lot of force, but when they go to express it, okay, that little amortization phase, like the change of direction, they bleed all the force. Typically, this is very weak trunk. Okay, we're weak through the trunk. We go down, create a lot of force, but then we're like coming up. Does that make sense? A lot of tall athletes here, and a lot of athletes in rotational sports, because in these rotational sports you snap through. Okay, and they're you don't throw like you're not flexed on, you disengage and snap. I don't know if that makes any sense. A lot of lower back issues with these athletes. Okay, I don't know if you know any baseball, softball people with low back issues, golfers with low back issues. We see a lot of those guys. Okay, and then we have low drive. This is like the coming up piece, like the concentric impulse coming up out of the jump. Okay, they create a lot of force, they transfer a lot of force, but then they go bloop, and they don't extend hard. A lot of it's very posterior chain. So maybe they sit in class all day. Maybe they sit and drive all day. Okay, maybe they're just like me and they're old and we get tired, and when I go to extend out really hard, it hurts my body. Okay, my ankles pop, back cracks a little bit. Okay, I end up being a very low load athlete. And what are we looking for? We're looking for something like this. Okay, something where we don't bleed any force going through and we peak at the end. That's pretty ideal. Adam, ideal for what? For almost everything. For really health and performance. Okay, at some point you can drive down rabbit holes, but our goal is to get our athletes here. Okay, it doesn't always happen, but that's the goal. It's not always easy. What we end up seeing is that if we have a high load athlete, this is how I scan out. I create a lot of force. been lifting weights since like 1992. Not well, because like I read Flex magazine and that's how I figured out how to lift weights. I don't even know if Flex magazine's still a thing anymore. I have no idea. I don't know if magazines are still a thing anymore. I'm not sure. But somebody that creates a ton of force, but then can't express that, okay, can't extend ACL meniscus issues. How many offensive linemen do you see walk up to the line of scrimmage and they have all these big old knee braces on? Some of it is preventative. Some of it they've torn their ACL already. Okay, this is a very common like offensive line scan. It's a very common I'm a catcher in baseball or softball scan. This is a strong scan. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying these are strong athletes that like the weight room. Okay. On the flip side of that, if you're low explode, okay, you don't transfer that force. You create that force, but then you bleed it. Okay, this is the stuff that leads to your low back stuff. Okay, and then on the flip side of this whole thing, if you're insanely low load / whatever, super high drive, you just don't create a lot of force. Okay. So if you don't create a lot of force, typically it dumps it on the joint. And we end up with your, patella tendonitis stuff going on. We see a lot of knee pain with our athletes. Basketball, volleyball. First of all, they're playing a ton of basketball and volleyball. They're landing hard, but when they land, anteriorly it's not, their quads aren't, doing what they need to, and they end up like more trying to absorb with their hips. They're more of a hip bender than they are a knee bender. I'm not saying one better than the other. They're both good. You need both joints. Hips and knees, they're both good. But guys, this is the stuff that we look at. I don't like guessing. I find this to be very interesting, okay? Because I could, get somebody up here to scan, which pending technology, we'll see how it goes. But you're different people, different athletes, different backgrounds. Raise your hand if you played baseball growing up, softball growing up, volleyball growing up, golf growing up, football growing up, wrestling growing up, lacrosse. Did you raise your hand for wrestling? Atta girl. There we go. Are you still wrestling? I love wrestling. Love it so much. Any other wrestlers? Any wrestlers? Did you guys watch the NCAA heavyweight? You saw Wyatt? Holy cow. I haven't yelled at a TV in a long time, yelling at the TV. Did you watch it live? Did you watch it replay? Wow. Such a good match. Such a good match. Nothing against Gable. He's amazing. Amazing. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about, but man, so much. Anybody else watch it? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's great. Oh my gosh. We watched it as a family. It was so cool. Anyway, where was I going with this? Golf. Did I already say golf? Pickleball. Here's my point. You play different sports growing up. Soccer. Here we go. You play different sports growing up. Okay. Like we had 2 volleyball middles that came through our program. Started with us as 8th graders, came all the way through. One went to play at Kent State, one went to play at Belmont. Okay. They're both 6'1", both about the same weight. It's not like one girl played a ton of basketball growing up, one girl played a ton of softball growing up. The basketball girl looked very much like this / this. She was like a low drive kid. Okay. Our rotational softball girl was much more here. Okay. She had low back hip stuff. She had knee stuff. It just, Now, eventually, over time, they both stopped their secondary sport and just focused on volleyball, and they kind of merged into the same athlete. They both balanced out nicely. But I just think it's interesting that I very much have this opinion that athletes need to be treated as individuals, and if you just have this like, this is our program, I really struggle with that. Because you're different. You're not all the same. And I think we need to treat that as such. And I'm going to say the same thing if you do like PT or I don't know, AT or whatever. But like, just to have this, like, this is our knee rehab program. Like, don't give me the same knee rehab program as my dad. We're not the same. There should be differences. And I say that like, of course, Adam, that's common sense. You should go see the real world and see see what's going on, because that's not always the case. Okay? Anywho, sorry, I'm going to read through this really quick. These different signatures that we end up having, they're basically kind of 4 different groups. There's not one that's better than the other. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Okay? But that possible ACL scan is the super strong scan. Okay? It's not a bad scan. Okay? This is how I scan out. Okay? And if you watch me do anything athletic, I would make plays based off of my power and strength, not because I'm super smooth, because I'm not smooth. Maybe 20 years ago, I was a little smoother. Right now, not so much. Okay? Versus the opposite, hey, this athlete, a little bit more of a timing athlete. They are buttery smooth, but they are not powerful. They are not strength. They're not strong. They're not strength. They're not strong. Okay? Do you want to be timing? Do you want to be strong? They're both fine. Okay? We just don't want you to be too strong. Where we have something like this, where it just screams injury. Okay? We also don't want you to be too momentum-y. Okay? They actually found, ready for this, baseball guys? Anybody play baseball? Any baseball people too? Okay, that they found that if these like weaker baseball guys will end up, they can predict based off a jump scan UCL injury in the elbow, because if you are so elastic, woohoo, the force just dumps on your elbow, and then all of a sudden you have UCL issues. That blew my mind. Like, there's data connecting jumping to elbow injury. Blew my mind. I don't know if it blew your mind. Blew my mind. Anyway, long story short, if I have a basketball athlete, I might try to train them into this quick scan. I just don't want them too quick. Okay? If I have a volleyball athlete, I might want them to be a little rotational, but not too rotational, because then I know we're going to have back issues. The fun thing is trying to, let me go back to this. The fun thing is then designing a program around what they need here. And that's a different presentation, guys. You'll be here all day. Okay, I could do it. You'll be here all day. There's some different stuff too. I'm not going to go deep into this. I've used this presentation a couple times over, but they're with a different balance scan, with a single arm plank scan that you can do and you can look into and have that piece. They've actually connected too, this is kind of crazy, a single arm plank to concussion risk. Because if you're able to hold a single arm plank, but not crazy, you do that. How much stability do you have? We've had some athletes do that and they're like shaking. Why would they be shaking? Because they're not strong, stable. Okay? Concussion risk goes up. Okay? I can't tell you how many concussions we've had in volleyball. Okay? Volleyball people, would you like to guess how people get concussions in volleyball? Guess, Meg. They do get hit in the head. How do they get hit in the head? When do they get hit in the head? Serving drills. They serve the ball, they go to get another ball, they pick up a ball, they're walking back, boom, the ball hits them in the back of the head. They don't see it's coming. It's like that boxing. It's not the punch that comes at you that you see coming. It's that one that barely grazes you and you didn't even see it coming. The one you weren't ready for, and that's the one that knocks you out. Okay. Any MMA fans here? Thank you guys in the back. Thank you. Anyway, that blows my mind. That hey, that there's, we have concussion issues here. Blows my mind. And again, I don't care what sport you're doing. I don't care what, well, kind of within the concussion thing, but I just think that's neat. Okay, I have 2 things, and then we'll try to get some technology to work here. This is where I failed as a coach. I don't know if you failed anything in life. I have failed as a coach. Nikki and Tori. Tori jumped at Lewis. Nikki ran at WashU down in St. Louis. Okay, Nikki is absolutely brilliant. Probably the smartest kid I've ever coached in my entire life. Brilliant. They trained with both Hononegah kids. They trained with us the summer of, I don't know, 2014, something like that. It was a while ago. They're now grown. Tori's married. They're fantastic. We coached up about 20 of their track and field team. We had everybody. We had the sprinters, the jumpers, the distance kids, the mid-distance kids, the throwers. I think we had 2 throwers. Okay, ran them through all the stuff. This is pre-force plate. This is Adam. We had this really nice, just beginner strength foundational program. Okay, and we ran through. Everybody got stronger. Everybody. Okay, because they were, no offense, weak, female, freshman, sophomore, juniors, on the track team. Everybody got stronger. Okay, now, good thing, but then how does that transfer to the track? Okay, Nikki dropped about 4 seconds in her 800. She went from 4 or 5 seconds. She went from like a 220, 222, 223, 800 to 216. Like, she finished 9th in state. Just a stud, just an absolute stud. 3A, like the big classes. She was running with the big dogs. Did a great job. Tori added about 3 inches on her triple jump. Not much. Why? Let me tell you. Here's my guess. I don't know, because I can't go back in time. I think Tori was already a high load athlete. I think she was a low drive athlete. Nikki, weaker. I think it was more of a low load, high drive. They're different. If you're like, Adam, I don't know what words you're saying right now. They're different athletes is what I'm saying. And our foundational program was much more aimed towards that beginner strength athlete. Even though Tori got stronger off of it, it needs to transfer onto the court, the field, the mat, the track, the pool, whatever. Long story short is right program for Nikki, wrong program for Tori. Okay. Tori's never called me out on it, which is great. I appreciate that. Okay, she still went on to Lewis and do some very good things. Okay, but once she hit Lewis, and they're doing a little bit more extension stuff. They're working with a higher caliber kid. She did really well. But I let Tori down. Okay, I should get over it. It still bothers me a little bit. Okay, but that's where I think this stuff is so important. And again, I don't care what you do. Again, I don't care if you're PT, AT, whatever. You just have to treat people as individuals because we're different. We're very different. Last little thing. I don't know if you get excited about the strength conditioning thing. These are just things that I have blown my mind in the past, 13 years of owning a gym. Training recommendation stuff, if you know where an athlete is, I think it's much easier to actually give them a prescription that should fit them, and then you can test to make sure what you're doing is right. Guys, there's not one movement I don't like. You want a rear foot elevate split squat? Fantastic. Okay? You want an RDL? Great. You want a bilateral back squat? Amazing. You want a front squat? Don't care. They're all great. They're all fantastic. It's just, do you need that movement? Is that important for you? Okay? The answer could be yes, the answer could be no. Okay? The bad thing is that people end up liking the stuff that they're good at. And typically people need the stuff that they suck at. So a lot of it is like, hey, what do you suck at? Great, let's do more of that. You hate lunging? We're gonna lunge you until your face explodes. Not technically, but you get my idea with that. Okay, if you have a weakness in your game, that's probably something that we need to take a look at. Okay, as opposed to, let's back squat more. I love back squatting. I'm not saying you take that away. I'm just saying, hey, maybe there's something more there. Okay, adapting to stimulus. Once you scan, and then we train, and then we scan again, and you train. Once you scan again, and you train, year on year on year, you'll change. Our freshmen are not the same as they were as seniors. Or sorry, I said that backwards. Our seniors aren't the same as they were as freshmen. They changed. Okay? Especially the boys. Puberty hits, oh my gosh, everything changes. It's amazing. Our little prepubescent, 135-pound, 14-year-old boys that jump, they look like they're baby giraffes trying to jump on the plate. You guys were there. You know what I'm talking about. We were all there. And then all of a sudden, as seniors, they grow a better beard than I do, and they're completely different. They're different humans. So you have to adapt based off of them. I can't give my seniors the same program as I do the freshmen. They're different people. They're different athletes. Okay. I think it's kind of fun to motivate the athletes in such a way because they'll see all their data as it goes. Okay, and they'll see their first jump, which is usually embarrassing, and then they'll see them get better. It gets better. And it's like, hey, this is actually something. Sometimes, friends, again, 10 more pounds in the back squat doesn't transfer to the field. I mean, it could sometimes, but sometimes it might not. I've seen people get stronger. I think I'm to the point where if I kept getting stronger, I would jump less high. You know what I mean? Bill Kazmaier, anybody know Bill Kazmaier? Strong man. Tried out for the Packers. Got cut. Strongest man in the world. He got cut. Why? Why do you think a professional strongman would get cut from an NFL football team? Can't move. Too slow. He's too slow. So like, there's a thing. It depends, again, what you're focused on, what you're training. Okay. Stressor-wise, this is a sidebar. We had a kid who scanned, and she was scanning insanely normal. Consistent, if you will. And then one day, everything was goofy. I'm like, well, this is weird. And I unplugged it, plugged it back in, tried it again. It was just still all goofy and weird. I'm like, son of a gun. Reset the iPad, let's do it again. Still weird. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Turns out, boyfriend was breaking up with her. Parents were going through a tough time. Okay, she had like an AP Chem test the next day, and like her world was crashing down on her. Okay, I don't care what you want to call it, mental health, stress, anxiety, too much. It was overloading her. Okay, and we saw it on the plate. Was that a good day to max out her deadlift? It was not. So we did not do such a thing. We backed off. Okay, sometimes you just need a break. You need a nap and a blanket versus more heavy deadlifting. And I said this earlier too with the different movement signatures, but I do think it's interesting. If you know the sport that the athlete is playing, you know what they're trying to get to. Sometimes if you're going to be that good and you're going to train that hard, you gotta kind of fly a little close to the sun. We don't want you to. We don't want you to get hurt. But you got to get after it. If you're going to be, we're in a Division I school here. Okay? You can't train conservatively. You kind of have to get after it. Okay? You should do that in a safe manner, but at the same point, it's kind of fun trying, like, hey, I know you play linebacker, so we're going to drive you towards this. Hey, you're an outside on the volleyball team, we're going to train you towards this. You're playing first base on the baseball team, we're training you towards this. And that's just been interesting for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for listening to another episode of Oak Performance Radio. Don't forget to check us out on the social at Oak Performance and online at www.oakstrength.com/Oak Performance. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.